I want to introduce our next featured conversationist, Mabel van Oranje, who is the chair of Girls Not Brides. Welcome, Mabel.
Thank you. Good morning. I would like to take all of you back to your wedding day. What do you remember? Beautiful dresses, an enormous cake, friends and family being happy with you, sharing emotions, promises of a life happy ever after. Or was your wedding day the day you had to leave school? Was it the day you had to leave your family to go live with a man older than you in age, who you had never met before, and go live with him and his family? Was it the day where you started to become the victim of regular abuse? Now that is called child marriage, and that happens to 12 million girls every year. That means that somewhere in the world, a girl is getting married nearly every 2 seconds. One girl, another. And it goes on and on and on. Now, in my work to help end child marriage, I've met some of these girls. I remember the girl from Ethiopia who told me that her wedding day was the day she had to leave school. I remember the girl from Zambia who was one of the best girls in her class, but who had to leave school after she ended up pregnant. She had never heard about sex, about how you get pregnant, about how you can avoid it. But once she got pregnant, she had to leave school and ended up in a child marriage. I remember the girls who I met in northern Ethiopia when I started learning about child marriage. And there was this girl seated next to me who had been married for a few years. And I asked her, how old were you when you got married? And she said, I don't know, because I don't have a birth certificate. But I must have been between the ages of 5 and 7. And it went like a knife through my heart, because my daughters at that time were 5 and 6. And I thought if they had been born there, rather than to me, this might have been their fate. And let me tell you about one more girl, a girl who I met in India. Her husband gave her a really nice present on the wedding night, an HIV infection. Now, child marriage has been happening for a long, long time, and it happens for a variety of reasons. In some places, it's led by tradition. People do it because they've always done it. In other places, it's driven by poverty and, dowry prices and wedding prices. In other places, it has to do with sexuality and the fear that girls might get pregnant before actually being in marriage. But always, 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 child marriage happens because of gender inequality. Girls are considered less than boys. And while the reasons why this happens in different ways all over the world, because let me be very clear here, it happens across all religions, across many, many countries, and across all continents. So while the reasons why it happens differ location by location, the solutions also therefore have to be different. In some places, having laws and policies in place and implementing them actually does the trick. But often you also need to make sure that you have services, that if a girl stays out of a child marriage, she can actually stay in school, or that she has access to contraceptives, or to sexual and reproductive health education. Often what really helps is to get sensitization of communities, helping the men, because it's often the men who make this decision, the men who have power in the community, to realize that what might seem to be the right thing to do for their daughters is actually harmful. And you need to empower girls, help them to understand that they have agency, that they have rights, and that they can actually stand up when they're forced to marry at a young age. Now, in order to make all this happen, you need a huge wave of change to happen. And what we've realized over the last 10 years is that with more attention going to the issue of child marriage, more money is going to the issue as well. But most of that money is staying with the UN organizations, UN Women, UNICEF, UNFPA, that do really good work, or it's staying with the international NGOs. Again, they do very good work. But if we are a community and you want to end child marriage in our community, You need people who understand why we as a community are doing this. And that can't be somebody like me walking in from the outside. It has to be trusted individuals, trusted organizations that understand that the reasons why we do child marriage, why that is happening, and what needs to happen to change it. Now, unfortunately, not enough money was until recently going to these local organizations that can actually make change happen. But that is changing. What we did is 1 year ago, we launched something called VOW, V-O-W, the Vow to End Child Marriage. And it is a very simple thing, and I'm going to ask all of you to participate. Vow to End Child Marriage is about mobilizing the wedding industry. The companies that do all these wedding products, from wedding dresses to wedding beautiful gifts that you might want to put on your wedding registry when we're getting married, to all these wedding professionals, the wedding planners, the wedding cake bakers, the wedding florists, the wedding hairdoers, the wedding makeup guys, all these wedding professionals, as well as couples, their families and their friends, to work all together to make sure that when a couple in the wealthy West says, I do, girls elsewhere in the world can say, I don't. Now, what has happened? We've launched this in the United States, and it is absolutely amazing. In the United States, and I mean, take a seat, $100 billion a year gets spent on weddings. Now, I'm a rather modest girl, and my view is if I can get only 0.05% of that $100 billion a year to go to end child marriage on the ground, we will mobilize $50 million per year to support that kind of crucial work that would help to keep girls out of marriage. So that is the aim. And we have, since VOW was launched, enlisted companies like The Knot, which is the biggest wedding website in the United States, like Crate & Barrel, a big homeware store, like Peninsula Hotels, and many, many others, to produce products that are VOW products and which you can buy, and then a percentage or a fixed amount goes to end child marriage. There's also now an opportunity for people who are getting married to register their list, their wedding gift list, with The Knot or with Crate & Barrel, and VOW will get again a percentage. And we're encouraging couples and their friends and their families to think about, if you already have everything you need in your life, why not at the moment when you celebrate your wedding, or when you celebrate an anniversary of 25 years of happy marriage, why not then, instead of gifts, to ask for VOW to get a donation? And so VOW has just started a year ago. The success so far is, I think, really amazing. And it, I guess, has to do with the fact that there's this whole trend of brides not longer just wanting a perfect wedding, but actually also wanting a meaningful wedding. Similarly, as we heard yesterday, millennials and Gen Z, they like to spend more if they know that there is a good cause involved. So this is really a trend. But as you all know, change-making is something that nobody can do alone. And in order to make VOW a success, we need all of you to help spread the word. To, if you go to a wedding, you don't have to think about, oh, what should I give any longer? If you're looking for a nice Christmas present even soon, you could give to VOW. And if we do that, we can collectively make sure that girls can be girls and not brides. And let me tell you one thing, once that kind of change happens on the ground, any girl who stays out of a child marriage will see to it that her daughters will not have to marry before the age of 18. So that will create lasting change. And once all girls can stay in school and out of marriage until the age of 18, we will have a world where everybody, not just girls and women, but also boys and men, will be better educated, will be healthier, will be more prosperous, and will be more equal. So please, let's work together to make sure that girls can be girls and not brides. Thank you.